All right, gents, Pete Gaffney here, owner of the Executive Fit Lifestyle, and I've got our latest success story here, Jeremy Ellis. He's just finished the program. He's gone through his 84 days, 12 weeks, huge success, down from 215 pounds down to 174. That's 40 pounds. Jeremy, I'm going to let you do an introduction. Why don't you tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and what you were really looking to achieve on this program?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, so Jeremy Ellis. I live in Pennsylvania in the States. I work long hours as a hospitalist physician at a local community teaching hospital. Hospitalist is sort of like a general practitioner that only works in the hospital. And working in healthcare, as you can imagine, the last few years in particular have been rather stressful. And during that time, both from stress and from everything else, had packed on a few extra pounds and was feeling a little bit thicker in the middle area, and the clothes weren't fitting quite as nicely. So my main goal in joining the program was to feel a little bit better about myself and let that better emotion infiltrate the rest of my life so that I could be happier at work and happier with family.
I hear that, and I understand, COVID would have been extremely demanding on you in your role as a doctor, but you joined the program in January, or you signed up just before January, before we closed down for over the Christmas holidays. But what made you join at that point? Why then?
Yeah, so as I think about that, there's the sort of two sides to my brain. There's the doctor side to my brain that's very rational and intellectual, and I said to myself, I really want the health benefits. I want my blood pressure to come down. I don't want my cholesterol to go any higher. It would be great if I stopped snoring at night and I didn't have sleep apnea. There's all the doctor side of it, but I had known that for years. So that really wasn't the tipping point.
That wasn't the catalyst.
No, I knew all of that. The reason that I ended up taking that first step was much more emotion-based than it was intellectual, where I just wasn't feeling good about myself anymore. And I remembered what it felt like to feel good about myself, and I was starting to notice that I was less happy at work. I was less patient with my wife and my kid. That emotion of just feeling disappointed in yourself was starting to seep into the rest of my life as well, rather than just be an internal thing. And I think that when I came to that realization, there's sort of that, it's almost a moment of panic where you go, wow, this has really seeped into every nook and cranny, every corner of my life. And if I don't really fix it for myself, it starts to poison the well. And so it was that sort of epiphany, that sort of moment of panic of, this is really impacting every aspect of me, the fact that I don't feel good about myself anymore. And so I wanted to change that.
And did that come from you personally, or was it family and friends, or the decision in the end was like, right, I need to make that switch, or was there a little bit of a nudge from loved ones around you?
All of my loved ones are very polite, so nobody would ever say, hey, Jeremy, you packed on a couple of pounds during, the last couple of years here. And honestly, if anybody had nudged me, I think my first reaction would have been, well, indignance. Oh, I mean, come on, everybody gained a few pounds. So for me, the decision was very internal. It had to come from, inside of me. Otherwise, it was never going to last.
Yeah. And I always say that to, I say that to anyone joining on a fitness program. And often we get partners or spouses phoning on their partner's behalf saying, Billy really needs to go on a fitness journey. I was like, well, that willingness has to come from Billy. It can't come from you. If he wants to pick up the phone and call me, then that's a different story, because it never works when someone else is trying to push you on. But I want to get into the details. Let's try and be a little bit specific. How were you feeling prior to joining my program?
Tired, but more than that, when I say tired, everybody thinks physically tired, but it was, there's the physical part of it, but I think more than anything else, I was just tired of feeling disappointed, and I had gotten oddly comfortable with disappointing myself for some time, that it wears on you, where it's fatiguing in sort of a mental, emotional sort of way, where you look at a mirror and the mental image that you have of yourself is just so much different than than more than just what you're seeing, but then also what you're feeling and how you move and what clothes you can wear. And I'm going on vacation and I'm not sure if my bathing suit from last summer still fits. Do I need to go buy a new bathing suit? And having to approve every photo before somebody posts it on social media because I want to make sure that I don't let the outside world know, how I feel about the inside world, and that constant need to edit the version of yourself that's presented to the world because you're just not happy with what the actual version is really wears on you and makes you tired just beyond a physical tired. It's a constant mental fatigue of needing to be on guard all the time so that nobody sees you let your gut go a little bit. And so tired, I think, is the only word that I can use to describe it. Yeah.
in a rut, maybe, sort of, and just
unquestionably in a rut. Yes.
Right. Okay. So we had the chat on Zoom like we're doing now. You made the decision. You made the move. You moved quick, which, to be honest, gents, all the men that move quick and make that decision and can compartmentalize and say, right, now the time, we always get the best results with. But what was your initial feelings? Because I obviously promised a lot. I know I've got a great program. Was it apprehension? Were you nervous? Did you back yourself, or how were you feeling before sort of day one of the program?
Yeah, so I would say, as I was looking over the program, my biggest concern, like it is when I try any new program or set any new goal, my biggest concern is always failure to meet that goal. And I had considered a lot of different ways to approach this. Once I made the decision that I wasn't at all happy with the path that I was on and where it led was not a place I was willing to go, I knew I was going to make changes under some variety. And in the past, when I've tried to make the changes on my own, I think most of my failure has been a lack of structure. The old adage of trying to outrun a bad diet was something that I was proving on a month-to-month basis. And so I had apprehension when you and I were first talking, but I think by the end of that first conversation, I knew what my answer was. I was still concerned about not succeeding, but that concern was no longer an insurmountable barrier. It was simply another objective to meet. And I think part of the reason for that was I'm very metric driven. I'm very analytical.
Into the data.
Yeah. And so when you and I were chatting, and it's, hey, your basal metabolic rate is this, and hey, your activity level is this, and if you burn this many calories and eat this many calories, brother, you're going to lose weight. I said, well, okay, yeah.
It takes the emotion out of things, just like any businessman would crunch the numbers and say, right, we're spending too much at the moment in the business, let's pull it back. Or, health is no different. But unfortunately, a lot of us don't look at the data, and then emotion plays a big part. And why am I not losing this week? And why is this not working for me? But tell everyone now that you finished the 12 weeks, how does the new Jeremy feel? You obviously look great. We're going to be posting your graph on here and some transformation pictures once all this is live. So imagine your details popping up on the screen now. But how do you actually feel? What's the new Jeremy like at work, at home, with family?
Yeah, no, I feel great. And by pleasant circumstance, the conclusion of the program coincided with a beach vacation. So nice. Can't plan that any better. That wasn't even intentional, but that worked out well. So for the first time in years, I could actually walk around on a beach with my shirt off and not be worried about how that looked to the rest of the world. I felt comfortable in my own skin, and I felt comfortable with my appearance and my fitness status, so I could walk around without a shirt on and not have to be too concerned. So I feel great about that. My sleep was the biggest surprise. I didn't realize how bad my sleep was between the snoring and waking up all the time. Even halfway through the program, when I had shed more than a few pounds, I noticed that I was sleeping better. I would wake up feeling more refreshed, less cranky, able to actually get through my day without taking as much breaks at work, more energy, just all around quite a bit better. The only The only downside is that I've had to buy all new clothes because none of my clothes are fitting anymore. So
You didn't read the small disclaimer, did you?
if I'm gonna make one complaint, it's that I have to spend all this extra money on clothes because they don't. The other ones look like 1990s parachute pants now. So
Fair enough. Well, good for you, and long live the skinny jeans.
that's right.
Exactly. What are 3 things about the program which PGPT really helped you now implement into your lifestyle? What are 3 really strong takeaways that you're now running with?
Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of overlap, I think, in my 3 things. So it was surprisingly simple, and so I say that where, you know, obviously if this was perfectly simple and perfectly easy to just do this, everybody would do it, and you know, the entire fitness industry would be out of work. So, you know, but it's simple conceptually, which I find allows me to make these sustainable changes. So I've had a weight loss journey in the past, but it was very complex. It was very restrictive. You know, exercise for 2 hours a day, eat 800 calories, and sure, you're going to lose weight, but how long can you do that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So the approach that
you went for the big surface level solutions in the past.
yeah, and held on for as long as I could, but eventually, you know, that car drives
Life gets in the way.
Yeah, and you just can't maintain that, and that's exactly what happened. I gained almost all of that weight back.
Right.
And so this approach was very simple, which let me sort of wrap my head around it. I found it to be very sustainable, where, to be frank, the hardest part about your program was the first day. Every subsequent day of your program was easier than the last.
Excellent.
Once you got into it, and once you started seeing results, once I started seeing results, the difficulty level of this went to the basement, because then you just, instead of being hungry for a snack, I'm just hungry for what's the next milestone that I'm going to hit, and what's the next, you know, reading on the scale, or, you know, body recomp change going to look like.
Yeah. And I think most men are the same way like that. We're driven by results, we're driven by goals, and men that don't have those clear KPIs, those clear goals, just seem to go round and round in circles, i.e. you walk into a gym with no real plan. I'll do some of this, I'll do some of that. One of the things that did make me laugh, Jeremy, was you thought you had strong legs because of all your cycling, but that didn't turn out to be the case once you actually picked up a dumbbell and a barbell and started doing some leg training, did it?
No, I was the guy that skipped leg day, which, you know, you never want to be that guy. But I had, you know, in the past, most of my fitness journey was very cardio, just because I thought, well, shucks, if I burn more calories, surely this will be the way to go. Not thinking at all about how many calories I burn just by being alive, and if I had more muscle, I'd burn more calories just by breathing in and out.
Yeah.
So
metabolic effect.
all of my exercise in the past was cardio, which is all leg based, you know, all cycling and running. So I thought, oh well, okay guys, leg day, sure, Bulgarian split squats, no big deal. Yeah, I had some work to do.
Yeah, but listen, you did exceptionally well, and we track strength progress. And guys, I can tell you right now that Jeremy started here with most of his weights and ended up here. There was a nice linear progression up, which is another tangible marker we're looking for. You know, we're not just looking for circumference measurements or weight on the scales or photographs, but we want to see sleep patterns, step markers, strength gains, all of those variables, and he hit everything. What would you say to people sitting on the fence, thinking about joining? Because men are very good about talking themselves out of things. You know, this isn't the right time for me. I've failed before, I'm going to fail again. I've never invested in my own health. You know, what would you say to guys sitting on the fence who just need that little nudge?
Yeah, you know, for me, the biggest fear was sort of wandering through the fitness forest with a blindfold on, and not having a clear idea as to what path I needed to be on to get the results that I wanted. I think that if anybody sits and has a conversation with you, a conversation with your team, where you listen to what, my experience was, you listen to what my goals were, you got an idea of who I was at the beginning, and I knew what I wanted to be at the end. I needed you to tell me what's the path through the forest that I can actually accomplish to get from where I'm starting to where I would like to be. And so once I saw that you and your team were able to answer that question in a way that I actually understood, I'm not out there buying raspberry ketones and eating bull's liver and stuff that I just don't understand, right? It was a very understandable approach of, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to lose this much weight.
And you said that before as well. Like, the fitness industry is notoriously bad at overcomplicating things. Let's keep it very simple. Let's double down on the things you're doing really well, and just keep showing up every day.
Yeah, and honestly, the plan that you set forth at the very beginning, you were only wrong about one thing. I lost the weight a little faster than you predicted. So that was the only mark that you missed. Everything
don't
else
like to overpromise, but on that note, I just want to say thank you again, Jeremy. An incredible journey. Just to recap, down from 215 pounds to 174 pounds in 12 weeks, living his best life. He's got his energy back. He's got his mojo back. And this is going to stay now. This is the new you.
This is the new me. Yeah, and the routine that I have fits between work meetings and soccer practices with my son. The routine that I have is not eating a piece of grass for dinner. The routine that I have is something that I can continue moving forward.
Brilliant. Excellent work, Jeremy Ellis.